Hello, this is a quick demo of my preset called Rando-Rambo CC 1.2, and what this preset does is it generates random values for remote controls. And the way it works is you need to assign a virtual MIDI port. I'm personally using loop MIDI. You can add as many ports as you need. So you assign one of the available ports, then go to settings, then add controller and use the keyboard plus 8 device knobs. Then you assign the same MIDI port right there. And now if we select any device and then look in the I/O panel, Studio I/O, we can see that currently this controller script is basically homing on this phase 4 device, and we can pin that. If we just pin the specific device, it will stay on this device. Once we change tracks, it will switch to something different, and then when we go back, it will stay on this specific device that we chose. But if we also pin the track, then it will latch on this device no matter where we are in the projects. So this could be useful if you need to use it constantly for something and you need to make it work consistently. So by default there is this gate switch activated. So basically with each new node a new seed value will be given for these controls. And for example, we have this output knob and we probably don't want to randomize that. So we have these mute buttons right here. We should mute the 8. That's a rule of thumb. The number 8 is usually, most of the time, for the most stock presets is the output. So it's a good idea to mute it just initially before triggering any random values. Also, it's probably a good idea to set this takeover mode to immediate, so any changes in the CC values will be passed to these knobs immediately instead of catching on the current value and only then they will be changed. So let's pass some nodes. As you can see, the knobs are changing and they are doing so slowly because we have wait time. If we make it to 0, then each node press will basically have immediately all the different values. We can turn off the gate dice and just use this seed parameter. We can also fold the whole thing and just use these modulators. Obviously, this device doesn't have any remote mappings in it because that would cause the feedback loop if it would try to randomize itself. So I made that mistake in the previous version of this patch, and then I decided to just use modulators for everything. And so we have this seed and set size. And what this means is we can just scroll through all the possible combinations of random values. Because it's sampling a white noise sample at different intervals. So basically it's like sampling one value and then second knob would be sampled a few samples after the first value in the noise, and this will be always different in the white noise waveform. The set size will define how many values are in the set, and basically combination of these two knobs will get you all the different kinds of random, so to speak, combinations. So if you enter something very specific, like say 10.5, it will sound like this. And then if we enter something different like 50, and then let's try to enter 10.5 back. Same thing that we previously had, and that's the basic idea. So you could, for instance, use the project tab and type here the values that you liked if you don't want to save the device presets immediately, because you can do that as well. Every parameter change that's applied through remote controls is absolute, so all the knobs positions can be saved as preset as well if you do just this save preset library, for example. And yeah, I've implemented different ways to trigger random. The default one, as I've shown, is drop the dice on any new node value, and then there are sub modes. The first one is basic. Each new node input will generate new sets or new seed, overriding this knob right here. But still, it does uses the set size. If I change the set size, all the knobs change. So you could kind of combine these two things. If we will move up to the middle, the trig mode, it will use this gate in divider. So basically, you need to look into the patch itself to see what it does. If you hover this clock divide, you can see at the bottom bar it currently says 13, so after 13 gate passes, then the next actually does the dice drop, and the lower this value is, the faster changes apply. And the third mode is Quantized Mode, which is basically quantizes all the node trig drops by the tempo grid, and you can hover these triggers to see how many steps it quantizes to per bar. Or you can change the phase length. By default it's 16/16, which is 1 bar. You can change to bar and set it to 2 or 1. It will be a bit different, but yeah, take that into account if you want to have tempo synced randomization. And that's about it. And beside that, there's bend and bias for final values. So basically we can define that resulting values will tend to be more at the top than at the bottom, or the other way around. And then you can apply this is a bend. So bend makes a curve, and the bias basically offsets the output overall, but it only does so when the new dice is dropped. It doesn't change values that are already being dropped. So hopefully that helps understanding how this works. You can try as example, maybe even add some clip from the browser with a drum machine. And now let's drop this randomizer right before drum machine, so it can trigger with the same notes that drum machine does. And then we go to the Studio.io and unpin this, and then map it to drum machine. Unfortunately, this preset doesn't seem to have any pages, but we can change that. As you can see, 808 does have remote controls. As you can see, each hit triggers the randomization. For example, we could also group this device. Doesn't really matter if it's instrument layer or not, we can apply node filter. And let's say only reacts to the kick. So up to C1. And let's see what happens now. And right, sometimes because of that takeover mode, the output will be just at its minimum value when you just load the preset for device that you're intending to randomize. So watch out for that. Let's try it. So we are only getting random values with each kick. You can make these changes gradual with this fade time. There is also a key track mode. If we remove this node filter, basically it changes the seed value according to key track, so the nodes on the keyboard. And so basically if you divide this seed by 128, you get like 128 presets, random ones, but yeah, you can then subdivide this with different set sizes. So have fun.